Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone around the world. I am Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. Today, on this segment of comedy and controversy, we're going to dig more into the controversy side instead of the comedy side today. I'm going to give you a trigger warning. We're going to talk about religion. Ooh. So, anyways, our host for comedy and controversy, Jeremy Baker. Hello, sir.
Yeah, what's up? I'm
Hey.
back. I'm still alive. I made it through another week, man. It's
Yeah.
like the highlight of my week, man. I'll tell you what. Oh, between driving around and yelling at people that are driving poorly, it's.
All right. So I gave the pre-trigger warning. We're talking about religion.
Yes.
I want people to know that we're not here to put anyone down for their belief. Remember, our First Amendment allows everyone to believe what they choose to believe. Okay. So we're not going to diss on people because they have a belief system. All right. Um, I myself, I'm an atheist. And an atheist is someone that simply does not believe there is a creator of all things, a all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good God. All right.
Mm.
And there's lots of different types of atheists. I'm a spiritual atheist. I believe there's something out there. I just don't believe that it's a all-knowing or an all-powerful or an almighty God. I believe there's things out there that go beyond our knowledge.
Right.
I don't believe that when you die you're just dead. Where there's a lot of atheists that believe they're a materialistic atheist where they believe that when you die, your body dies, your brain dies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. You're done. I don't believe that. I believe that laws of thermodynamics. Energy can't be created nor destroyed. It changes form. Whatever
Yeah.
energy we are, we go out and we become something else. So we
I
continue on. That's what I believe.
yeah. I came in. Yeah, I had we've talked before about my struggles with faith and beliefs, and I ended up becoming. I didn't even become one. I just kind of figured out that I was one with deism, which for people that don't know what deism is, I believe there is something that created us in the world and everything like that, but I don't believe that it's based on any storytelling or it's based on evidence you see in the world, like the fact that we're online right now talking to each other. You know what I mean? The sky, the trees, all this stuff outside is evidence. And the reason I came to that conclusion is this: science still cannot explain everything. Like the big question is, why do we exist? Are we
Right.
just here to, you know, I don't believe God is here to micromanage our lives. You know what I mean? That's not how I don't believe that's how it works. You know what I mean? I'm here. I believe we were put here to flourish, and we're not doing a good job. He gave us this She gave us this beautiful world. You know what I mean? This beautiful, perfect world that only exists. And nothing around us can support life except for our planet, and we were given it, and we're actually literally treating it like a toilet. You know, we're literally destroying the only planet that we have.
Right, right. And I believe there's other life forms out there in other galaxies and other systems that we just don't know about because they're too far away.
I mean, when you talk about just by the numbers, they're almost statistically, you would think they're. I mean, especially with the new images they're getting from the James Webb's telescope.
Right.
I mean, they're seeing so far beyond anything we ever thought we would see. And we're seeing
Right.
new galaxies and new planets and all kinds of stuff. So it's hard to
Yep.
imagine that we're the only thing around.
Yeah. Now, before, like I said, before anybody gets pissed, we're going to be talking about a lot of different types of religions or however, we go about it. For most people, they think that their religion is the only religion out there and anything else is, what they
Right.
don't
And that's the
realize.
part that bothers me.
Well, what they don't realize is that your three main ones that we have, which is your Judaism, Christianity, and I just had
Islam.
it up there. Islam.
Mm-hmm.
They're all Abrahamic religions,
Mm-hmm.
and they all branch out. There's just hundreds of different variations and forms, and they're
Mm-hmm.
all about Abraham. and his communications with God. And this is where a lot of people, they don't realize that if you read the Quran, which I have, if you read the Bible, I've read many versions of the Bible. You read the Torah, they're all very much the same in so many ways. Now, this one will add this stuff, this one will add this stuff, this one will change it here and there. If you just look in the Christian religions, look at like your Mormons, look at your Jehovah Witnesses, they make minor changes. So, and again, I have no problem with anybody believing.
Right. And that was one of the great things about the forming of our country, because the founding fathers, none of them weren't all the same religion. Some of them were deists, some of them were Mormon, some of them were Christian, Catholic, whatever. You know what I mean? If honestly, I think if we had to agree on what religion this country would be, we never would have become a country. We would end up having a religious war to figure it out.
Right.
And I think people they're not embracing it anymore. Like every time I see online and on TV, people are trying to force their beliefs onto other people. And like you said, if they don't believe the same as them, they're bad people. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? And it's okay to believe in multiple things. Like I talk about Martin Luther King. He believed, he did a lot of work, you know what I mean? Buddhism and Christianity. And it made him a better person because of it. You know what I mean? The more you learn about how different cultures treat life,
exactly,
how can that be a bad thing?
Well, and there's the other thing. It's like Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, Confucianism. They're not really religions; they're philosophies.
Philosophies, right?
Then you have what's called mythological, which is like your Roman gods and your anyways, your they're looked at as mythological, where again, when you go to the Old Norse, the Norwegian, the Vikings, they were considered pagans because they were savages.
Odin,
right? And they had their belief system, their gods, and I mean, even the Bible acknowledges other gods, because in the Holy Bible it says you'll put no other gods before me, including Zeus. So it's an acknowledgement that there's other gods. So
right, and I'm right, exactly. And I think people, especially, I mean, there's a human interpretation. Like God didn't write the Bible. You know what I mean? Like people wrote all these books. People have agendas. You know what I mean? People add things to make stories better. You know what I mean? And it's not like, and all the stories in the Bible weren't written. All of them weren't written for the Bible. They were just stories they picked and chose for the Bible. And people take these stories very, very literally. And they have to remember that there's a human element to this whole scenario. Like every religion out there has a human element to it that, like you said, everybody, a little modification here, a little modification there, and then we'll call it this. You know what I mean? We'll believe this same thing, but we'll believe it a different way. And then we're going to say we're better than them, and we're not going to deal with them anymore because we believe this, they believe that. And it just is, it's so frustrating to see people not get along over stuff like race and religion. Like, you know what I mean? I can get along with somebody that goes to church every Sunday and believes in God. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Well, and part of the other thing that upsets me is when they weaponize it. I mean,
exactly.
Just like, that they talk about, a man lies with a man, they shall be put to death. Well, how about someone that mixes their linens or mixes their fabrics, wool and linen or cotton and whatever and all that? Put to death. Trim your beard wrong. Put to death. I don't see anybody out there forming big lines and says, God hates people that trim their beard wrong. Okay. But they will utilize it for another belief that they don't agree with.
And I think having beliefs are great. Whatever makes your life better, because this world is crazy enough as it is. So if you have something that you believe in that makes your life better, great. But like you said, once you start imposing your beliefs on somebody else, you're weaponizing those beliefs. and they're no longer your beliefs. You're trying to make it other people's beliefs too. You can't force beliefs on somebody. It has to be a choice.
Exactly. And again, it's in our Constitution. You have the freedom to choose what religion you want to believe in, what faith
Exactly.
you want to have or not have. Like myself, an atheist. I have that choice. Now, I'm not going to push my atheism on you. I'm not going to say, hey, this is the way you got to believe because it's how I believe. No, that's not the way we're supposed to do it. We're supposed to allow everyone to have their own belief system and not hate on it.
I've always wondered why people get so defensive. Like, are they worried that maybe somebody's going to point something out to them that'll crash their whole belief system? Like, you know what I mean? I don't understand. Well, it's like as soon as you question anything about it, it's an immediate defensive wall that you know what I mean?
A lot of atheists that I know personally, the majority of them read the Bible, and that's why they're an atheist. Okay. I mean, I myself, like I said, I've read it. I searched for God. I wanted to believe. I truly did. I wanted to believe. And when I was run around with my questions and not given answers, and I read and I researched, I decided this wasn't for me. So I decided to check out other religions, and I started with Abrahamic religions, and then I went to other philosophies. And, you know, one thing I do find in common with all of them is do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Treat others as you would have them want you to be, as you would want to be treated. You know, basically the golden rule, the silver rule. It's got many names. I mean, it goes all the way back to the Code of Hammurabi in the 1700s BC, you know, and that's also where an eye for an eye comes from. So a lot of this stuff has been taken and handed down. And once you start to realize there are good things in these books.
There absolutely is. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
it's when people distort certain phrases or certain words to accommodate their own agenda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And comedians have been making fun of it for years.
I know this has always been a hot topic, and I was kind of sketchy about talking about it. But like you said, this is why we do things like this. We talk about things openly to try and get things out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think, like I said, it took faith. Okay. Faith itself is like is a journey. It's an individual journey. You know what I mean? Like for me, it took me 43 years. I'm 45. It took me 43 years to really realize what I believe in down to my very core. And I've never had that. Maybe some people, you know, I didn't grow up in a religious house. I never went to church. I did, you know, maybe occasionally just to check it out. And it was a long, arduous journey that, like I said, I ended up becoming a deist just because of what I went through, the things I saw, the things I feel, and you know what I mean? But that, to me, I feel like I'm a better person because of it. And then I'm not going to go out and say, well, you shouldn't believe in that because, you know, this is why I think you should believe in it. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I'm not going to impose what I've discovered in 43 years. I'm not going to go out and just start verbalizing it to other people and try and make them see the same way I do. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I see it as everyone has their own journey and their own path, and whatever that path, you know, takes them on, that's what they need to experience and make their own decisions. Kind of like even we have new religions like Scientology.
Oh boy, that's right.
And people put it down, you know, and yet it's like it's another belief system. And again, even though I don't believe in it, somebody that does, it's their right. In fact, I got a clip. Let me play this clip. Let's see here. Let me get it.
I like this one. If this is the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Bill.
Yeah, this is the one.
Yeah.
And the first time I heard the story of Scientology, I was like, that is the dumbest shit I have ever heard in my life. Like, your guy's name is Ron. Ron. And he wasn't alive thousands of years ago, so you can hide a lot of it in the mystery. This guy was alive like 45, 50 years ago. He had a driver's license. Social security number. There's like footage of him stubbing his toe. Motherfucker, right? I don't know what happened. He was working at Denny's. He got sick of it. He's like, oh, I'll start a religion. Hey, everybody, there's a spaceship coming back. Everybody's getting sneakers. This is Tom Cruise. We're going to try to make you clear. Now, look, I'm paraphrasing. I told you, I am paraphrasing. But that's essentially what they believe in. And I said that is the dumbest shit I ever heard, while simultaneously still kind of believing that a woman who never got fucked had a baby that walked on water, died, and came back 3 days later.
It's brutal. But I mean, seriously, we talked about it earlier. Like, I watched a documentary, and maybe I'll get a little harsh on this one, but Scientology is one I have a problem with. Just, I mean, most people I'll bring it up, the Heaven's Gate thing that went on from 1970 whatever till 97, I think. And they believed pretty much the same exact thing, that a spaceship was coming, that they had to prepare themselves, that they were going to get, once they got to a certain level, they were going to have a metaphysical change in their bodies that was going to take them out of their physical being into a spaceship. And they ended up, 39 of them ended up killing themselves when the Hale-Bopp comet came through, and I think it was 97. And they found them all, they were all wearing the same clothes, sneakers, all had the same Nikes on. They all had the same things in their pockets. They had like exact amount of money. And they planned it out. They even had a register of what time they committed suicide, and like a little note they could leave at the end, like their last whatever moment. You know what I mean? Like, and they believe that the spaceship has picked them up now. And this is the same thing that Scientology believes. This spaceship is going to pick them up, and they have to have a metaphysical change in order to get there. And this is a tax-free organization.
Yes.
That's another thing we got to talk about, is the whole tax-free. There's a lot of churches, yes, they rely on the donations from their people. And there's like you talked about, there's these huge corporate now churches. I mean, some of the places these people live is just, it's horrible. I can't remember the guy's name. He's a real big evangelical on TV. Joel, can you remember his last name?
Not
Osteen?
Could be. I don't know.
Yeah, Joel Osteen. He's written a bunch of books. He has millions of people, and it's on TV, and they're online, and their house is this gigantic mansion, and it's just like, I thought you're supposed to be delivering the message of God, and poor people are giving you this money, and you're living this fantastic, magical life, while people with much less than you are giving you their money. You know what I mean? And they don't have to pay tax on it at all either to contribute to America. I mean, the amount of taxes they would generate alone would be.
I'm kind of on the fence with the taxation stuff. Okay. I kind of like go with the George Carlin thing. Okay. If you're going to voice your opinion in politics, then then pay taxes like the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you're just going to help people, and, because the church has helped me. Okay.
Me too. I mean, it has. Absolutely.
Yeah. I belonged at one time to a Lutheran church, and I was in need of help, and I was aided, but I also was giving 10% of my paycheck every 2 weeks to the church.
Isn't that in the Bible? That actually percentage, it actually says, and not in the words percentage, like not, it's worded differently, but there's something in the Bible where it says you should give this much money out of your income to the church. Why would God say that? Why would God give a flying shit of who gives money to, you know what I mean? That irks, that stuff like that irks the shit out of me, because that's people stuff. That's not God stuff.
Right. I think it's a tenth of your tithe, which is going to be like if you're a farmer back in the day and everything, you're going to give a tenth of what you own to whatever entity is, supplying things for the people. I mean, again, it's another form of socialism. Well, that would be more like, if it's done willingly, it's communism. If it's done by order of law or order of rule,
yeah.
socialism.
I wish we had that clip of that one preacher. Like I said, I don't want people to get the wrong idea, because like I said, I believe that if something makes your life better, great. If you believe something, I mean, obviously there's a fine line between, there are good and bad beliefs. I mean, you could have beliefs that are very, like you see it today with politics. Like, people are so misguided that they are believing the fiction over the facts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people are being manipulated these days in such a way, like that people are being told, like this whole Christian nationalist thing that the politicians are talking about this. And it bothers me because it goes against the very fabric of the Constitution. You can't make, that's why we have no official religion or language in America.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why, because we have the freedom to choose. And like I said, it's getting out of hand where people are getting so mean about it.
Right.
Why would you?
Again, people want people to live the way that they live, that they deem moral and righteous, that they deem right or wrong. And everyone's interpretation of right and wrong is not exactly the same.
No.
Where, again, like let's take like marriage. That's between a man and a woman. Well, why?
Right? Why? Yeah. What's
in this country, it's a contract that's for liability in the end when you get down to it. Damages to the person that leaves the relationship. They have an issue with who can marry who. Personally, I think anyone should be able to marry anybody and have as many husbands or wives as they want.
I know. Why does it matter who
Yeah.
Again, if it makes your life better, who gives a shit?
Well, again, though, it's set on a religious moral versus a personal moral. Me,
right.
I am pansexual. Okay. I am. I believe in polyamorous relationships. I have lived monogamous relationships, but I believe in poly. So, if I wanted to have a husband and a wife, or husbands and wives, I should be able to have them. But one religion says, no, that goes against our morals. You can't have that. It doesn't go against my morals.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this. What do you think? Do you think religion is, because you have to look, not only because religion goes back thousands of years, obviously, but during those thousands of years, we've evolved as a species. We've created science, or not created science, but we discovered science, mathematics, all these things that are now able to prove things that maybe 2,000 years ago somebody saw. Like, if people back in the day, they saw a comet, they would go kill themselves because they thought the planet was going to, the earth was going to end. You know what I mean? We have to put it in perspective. Like, do you think religion is holding certain people back from maybe mentally evolving into something better?
Quite possibly. It's funny. I just saw a TikTok and all that, that it was made as a joke. Yeah, you can teach your children that the earth is only 6,000 years old. I'm going to teach mine that it's older, and my children won't be hiring yours. So I mean, and again, it was done more in a satirical, funny way, but it's still a dish on people of religion. If you want to believe that the earth is only 5,000 or 6,000 years old, okay, that's your right to believe that, even though science says differently. You can either believe in what is being presented to you from a faith standpoint, or you can either believe what's being presented to you from a scientific standpoint. There's people that believe in evolution. People believe that God created Adam and Eve as the first. Okay. You have the right to believe whichever one you want.
Yeah. And I think Americans need to stop oppressing other people for their beliefs, because that's what America's about. We're supposed to be this giant melting pot of cultures and beliefs. We're not
Right.
supposed to be a single belief country. It never was intended to be that way from the start.
Yep.
That's why it doesn't say, this is a Christian nation or whatever. You know what I mean? That's why it doesn't say that, because
Right.
we're supposed to be diverse. People need to start embracing that. Maybe you can learn, maybe you can discover a different level of faith by learning something new from a different culture. Could you imagine that? Maybe you have this great faith for your religion and you learn something that just maybe that makes it even, maybe it confirms what you've believed all this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people are so afraid that it's going to discredit these beliefs they've had all their lives. They don't even want to hear it.
Right.
When they close their ears and they close their minds off, that's when it becomes a problem, when they don't want to see, the new things that we've discovered and seen and done.
Right. I mean, again, you have certain things that contradict, religion on a multitude of levels, and people don't want to look at that, which, again, it's their choice. They don't have to look. But it's when it comes to how people are taught in the home versus, say, in the school system.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The school system is tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the First Amendment says that our government can't recognize a religion, so that's where separation of church and state comes in. So
and that's another hot button for me, just because the amount of, I keep going back to the whole Christian nationalist thing. I believe people within the government right now, in Congress, they believe these things, that we should be a Christian nation and everybody should believe one way of believing in God and all that stuff. And it's just like, is that where we are in 2023? Are we still at this point where we can't agree on just the fact that we're supposed to not have one single religion? We're not supposed to.
Right. Well, and we're not supposed to have we left England because of it being a religion controlled state. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when we came to America, we didn't want a religion controlled state.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, granted, a lot of the colonies, when they initially wrote their constitutions, they had religion as part of their constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they were Quakers, whether they were whatever it is that they believed in, that was part of their constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And when we united as a country, we said that anybody can believe in anything they want.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, I mean, times have changed and more cultures have eventually come to the United States over time. You know what I mean? But for some reason, people still can't accept the fact that that's how America's been since the start.
What I love about the whole thing is I wasn't forced to believe in one thing growing up. And as I grew up, I got to choose what I wanted to believe in. And first I was a Presbyterian. I got to believe in the Presbyterian belief system of Christianity, then Pentecostal, Baptist, Southern Baptist, Lutheran. I've gone through all of them. I've been, I dove into Jehovah's Witnesses for a while. I checked out the Mormons, Catholicism.
That's a lot of effort.
Yep. Catholicism. Quite frankly, just my personal opinion, walking into a Catholic church is just creepy for me. I find Catholic church
we don't
creepy. But that's just me. That's just me. I'm not saying that they're creepy. They just, for me, I walk in one and it's just like, ooh.
No, I'll say it. It's there. Yeah.
But I've studied Buddhism, Hinduism, I like the idea of reincarnation and how every level is a learning level. You may come back as a fly or a grasshopper or a cow or something else. You know, I kind of like that concept, though I personally don't believe it. I like the
My
idea
luck, I'd get
of
something
it.
fucked up.
What's that?
Nothing. I said my luck, I'd get something fucked up like a lobster or crab.
Well, you're supposed to learn. You're supposed to learn for each level something new until you move
Yeah, I
up
got
and
you.
become an actual demigod yourself. You know,
Whew, got a
so
long ways to go for that.
yeah. A
got a
good
lot
book
to
to
learn.
read is Siddhartha. As you can see, it's up here, right there. That book,
Yeah, see it.
Siddhartha. It's a good read. It's one of the ones that I liked the most that I've kept with me. You know, it's a good one to pull out. But I also believe in philosophy. You know, critical thinking skills, and I think the reason why religion has such a hold on so many people is that the critical thinking goes out of the window and they hold on to something else. Where I think if people actually started applying deductive reasoning, critical thinking, logic, common sense, and stuff like that, I think that maybe people might start to question things. And if they started to question things, they might learn more about their belief system.
Right. And I don't like it. I mean, just looking back in history, the amount of violence that has been committed in the, I'll just use Christianity because it's probably number one. The amount of deaths that have been done in the name of Christianity. I mean, the Vikings were pretty much wiped off the map, you know what I mean, by Vikings that had turned to Christianity. You know what I mean? And they actually, it was so much blood, just so much blood to try and get people to believe the same thing. And that's why I was kind of hoping we got to a point now where we don't have to be that way anymore. But we're still people. They're not doing it violently yet, but they're, you know, still trying to impose a certain way of thinking. And it's a very archaic way of thinking a lot of times.
Yeah.
Usually the extremists are the ones that are the most narrow-minded. The religious extremists drive me absolutely insane. You know, we talked about that preacher. He's all over TikTok and Instagram, that angry ass preacher that is yelling at his congregation that if you're a Democrat, get out. We don't want you here. And like, he's literally putting religion and politics in together. It's like an ultra mega. It's nothing. Oh,
I know.
That's the stuff that pisses me off. You know what I mean? And people sit there and they're like, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. How can you cheer that on, man? How narrow-minded do you have to be to think like that?
Right. Well, it's kind of, here's how I look at it. You know, the good aspects of it. Love thy neighbor. Okay? Love thy neighbor. If God is the creator of all things, then all people are created by God because God is the creator of all things.
Right, period.
So
you can't be the creator of all things except them.
So why would you hate one of God's creations?
Right. It's the hypocrisy of it is unreal. And I think it's starting to get to the point, and I think it will get to the point where people are a lot more relaxed about it. But right now, it's still, people are still trying to impose this whole just.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. I wish, in my heart, I wish people would just be open to new experiences. You know, not that I'm like full of new experiences right now. My life sucks. I just kind of do the same thing every day. But read something, look something up. If you have a question, Google it. I mean, there's a wealth of information out there for you. People don't use it.
Yeah, there is. And here's the thing: people also think that atheists have no morals. Okay,
right? That's just nonsense.
And it is. It's like one of the questions that comes up and all that to an atheist from somebody that comes from a religious background is, if you don't believe in any God, then what keeps you from doing bad things? How can you morally be good? Now, my next question is, right, do you believe that most people are born innately good or evil?
I'd say innately maybe neutral. I don't know. I think both are taught.
Boom, taught. Okay. Because we are self-gratifying. and we have to learn the culture that we're around. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're taught with love and kindness, hopefully you portray love and kindness. But
Mm-hmm.
if you need a God to keep you from doing bad, what's that say?
Exactly.
What's that say about you? If you have to have a God that keeps you from doing bad things, then you're not a good person.
That's a good question.
Because if the only reason why you don't do bad is the fear of your God, then what kind of person are you? I don't need to fear a God. I believe in love and kindness. I believe in respecting people.
Exactly. Thank you.
And this is where, like, some of my friends who have religious beliefs, like my friend Aussie that's on here and all that, you know, Aussie Hussein, Paris of Prairie. She's WKPN out of I think it's Chicago. She's got a show called The Uninvited. People need to check her out on Twitter.
I always got to throw that in my face. You know, I can't get on Twitter. I'm a refugee.
But anyway, and without disclosing too much about her, I know her religious background.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And her and I are still great friends. You know, her and I are still great friends. And it's not because of the religion. The religion she believes in, she portrays love and kindness.
Right, exactly. And that's another thing that we talked about, I think, before was like the whole.
Love you too, Aussie. I love you too, dear.
We talked about it before where, you know what I mean? You can, all your sins are forgiven. So you can be a complete asshole your whole life and get away with whatever as long as you believe in, you know, come on. I mean, it's kind of a cop out. You know what I mean? It just, to me, it makes it sound like, all right, we're just evil people. We'll say it's okay as long as you know, as long as you say, I believe at the end, you're not, but that would mean,
right. Well,
that would be murder.
But again, though, if you read the book,
Right.
to commit a sin without knowledge is forgivable. To commit a sin with knowledge is not.
Makes sense.
But the thing of it is most people don't read the book. You know, I'm going to play another one of those clips.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Share screen. I think this is the Jeffrey.
If he showed up at a party, he'd be the most spoken person
he's
in
brutal.
party history. Like, everyone would be having a good time, then someone would go, "Don't look up." Oh no. God's here. Hey God, how are you going? We didn't know you were going to be here. Yeah, well, I'm fucking everywhere, aren't I? So why the fuck wouldn't I be here? Well, God, it's really great to have you here. We're really happy you're here. And then God's like, everyone, can everyone please be quiet and look at me right now? I've come down to tell all of you, I want you all to know that I love all of you unconditionally.
Jim Jeffries is brutal on religion.
Yeah. But I picked that because here's the thing. If there truly is a God, let's say I'm wrong. And there truly is a God. Whether it's God, you know, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, blah, 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 or it's Allah, or it's Jehovah, or it's whoever is the God, Zeus. It doesn't matter.
L. Ron Hubbard.
If they're truly a good God and they love everybody, it doesn't matter if while I'm here, if I believe in that God or not. Okay? Does not matter. If I am a good person, okay, if I am a good person and I live good values and I do harm to no one, I'm going to get into heaven.
Yeah. That's my
Okay.
belief too. Like what you do in this life determines
Okay.
where you go in the next.
Because any God that's going to set a criteria of belief, I personally just that kind of arrogance, that kind of ego, I don't know why I would want to go to that heaven with that kind of childish, mentality. So for me, it's more of a if I'm wrong and there is an all good God, then hopefully that God will recognize the good in me and I'll be accepted. And if not, if I have to burn in hell for being a good person and doing right, then guess what?
And
I'm
that's
going to accept my punishment then for
But
being
that's
good.
the other thing with the religion. It's so extreme. Like you either live this way and go to heaven, or if you fuck up, you go to hell and burn for eternity. It's just like so extreme, man.
Yeah. It's like George
Like,
Carlin,
God,
the
come
first
on.
episode that we had and all that.
But that's how you scare children into believing stuff. You make them afraid of the consequences of being bad. That's how you teach. You know what I mean? That's how you teach your kids to do right and wrong. You if this is bad, you stay away from it. You don't do that. But if it's good, you go ahead and you do that. It's just the different. I don't know. There's got to be a middle ground there somewhere. Like people, like I've done bad things in my life, but it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I've changed for the better. I've gone through a transition over the last few years, and I've come out a better person because of it. But based on my life, my track record back in the day, probably not would qualify to get into heaven. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there's got to be.
I wasn't brought up with religion. Okay,
I wasn't either.
I wasn't brought up with religion. I was brought up with a father that at a very young age, he said no. Why? Because I said so.
I used to hear that a lot.
When I got a little older, okay, and I would
Not
say
very
to my
fun.
father, why? And he'd be like, because I said so. And I would say, that's not good enough. And give me a reason why, or I'm going to do it anyways. And that's when my father would start to break things down for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, shouldn't I be the judge of whether or not I want to take that risk? My father and I had conversations to where my father's line of thinking opened, and so did mine, because we had conversation. That's part of the problem that we have nowadays in the political world we're in. No one wants to have the conversations.
Nobody does. Well, we do, but nobody wants to have them.
Right. If people would have that conversation, people could grow and learn. And I got my other friend in here, Bryce.
Yeah, so
Bryce,
hop
California governor. Hopefully
that works. That would be fun. I don't know if I'd be able
That's
to.
the goal,
These days,
but
it looks like you can get into politics and just about anything. Like the stuff that's going on in politics right now is just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Oh, but what I was going to say about.
Oh, Bryce, great show today. By the way, great show today, Bryce.
Yeah, I miss getting on the spaces is what I miss. I don't have an online community I can hop on right now. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of a fugitive from Twitter. There's really no other platform out there that I can use right now, except for maybe TikTok. You know how that's going right now.
Yep.
But no, I just wish Americans would stop obsessing about everything having to be one way. You know what I mean? I wish people would start embracing the fact that that's what this country is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be different. You know what I mean? Believe in what you want to believe in as long as it doesn't harm another person and it makes you happy. Whatever, you know what I mean? If you start harming other people or you start, whether it's mentally or physically, then it becomes a problem. And like you said, weaponizing these things and trying to force beliefs. You can't force somebody to believe something. They either believe it, have an experience like I did. You know what I mean? Because my journey through faith and all this stuff and becoming, finding deism was really long and really brutal, involved, losing everything, literally losing everything to drugs. I had lost my family, I lost my home, I lost everything. But throughout all that process, I had an amazing experience where it started to open me up. Because at the point I didn't believe in anything at the time. And I had an experience that opened me up to the possibility that maybe there is something out there. You know what I mean? And that's where I came to the conclusion. Not everything can be explained. So maybe there is something to all this.
Yes.
But I cannot, I just can't sit and read this gigantic book and read it verbatim and believe it word for word. It's not, it just doesn't seem, maybe 2,000 years ago. Yeah, sure. Okay. But come on, we've come a long way since that thing, since even the Bible was written. That you can't blindly believe in anything.
Right.
You
Exactly.
cannot blindly believe in anything. You have to ask questions. You have to evolve mentally, and you have to continue to move forward. And if you don't expand your beliefs, you're not doing that. You're staying stuck in an archaic way of thinking.
Yeah. Quick shout out to my friends that have been in the chat and all that, at Paris of Prairie and at Stoic Bryce.
Nice.
Catch them on Twitter. Follow them. Bryce has a show on Saturdays called Stoic Workshop. A lot of the things that you and I are talking about right now with, logical thinking and stuff like that. People need to go and listen to Bryce when he does his workshop and all that, because a lot of these things, like you're saying, you go back like 2,000 years ago, go back to the Roman Empire, Marcus Aurelius, which is who Bryce covers on his Stoic Workshop and all that. A lot of the things that we have problems with today, over 1,000 years ago, we still had a problem with it. And we still have these problems today, these discussions today. And we're getting nowhere. We're
really not.
Yeah.
We're really not. And people will believe anything these days, it seems. I mean, some of the stuff people believe these days is absolutely crazy. And we see that with politics. Like, people will believe a false narrative. And that's the thing I hate, because the people are being manipulated to the point, because that's how propaganda works. And it's, I forget what book it's in, and I saw a TikTok video and I forgot to save it. Oh, you have it in there too, but I've lost my train of thought now, damn it. Oh, it talks in there about propaganda is all about repetition, finding a narrative, creating a narrative, whether it's true or not, and taking that, and it's kind of like in sales. It's repetition, same thing over and over and over and over again. If you see it, and people become products of their environment. So if they're online and that's all they're thinking, there you go. Bryce, critical thinking can save us. That's absolutely right. People see this all the time. They're going to start believing it, whether they know it or not. You get influenced on a subliminal level all the time that you don't even realize. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch a lot of angry TikTok videos, you're going to be in a bad mood. If you watch a lot of puppy and kitty videos, you're probably going to be in a good mood when you get done. You know what I mean? But if you watch a lot of videos about a conspiracy theory and you see that same thing over and over again, your brain's going to be like, oh, it kind of makes sense. Eventually, even if it doesn't. You know what I mean? And that's like we talked about before. Everything is taught. So this is the human dilemma right here. How do we get people to teach love, compassion, understanding, empathy, acceptance? You know what I mean? Because people talk about tolerance. Tolerance is not a good thing. When you tolerate something, it means you just put up with it and secretly hate the shit out of it. Tolerance is not a great thing. Tolerance means you just put up with something, and that's not good. Acceptance is learning about how something works and going, okay, I'm cool with that. Now I understand. And how do we get people on a massive scale to say, okay, maybe what I did, the way I was thinking was wrong. That makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get a bunch of people? Because there's so many people in the world, and everybody's so angry, and everybody's so separate now. How do you bring them back together? That was what my book was all about. It was like trying to bring everybody in America to a common purpose or common goal. There's got to be something in that. Well, I believe in my bones that there's a common thread for everybody to hold on to.
You got to stop. You got to stop constraining people. Okay.
Yes, you do.
When you start limiting how people can live and how they can think and what they can do, that it in itself becomes harmful. Okay.
It's
kind of like, I think, who was it? I think it was Morgan Freeman. Maybe it was someone else. I don't know. you put fleas in a jar and you put a lid on top of it. And even though the flea can jump 10 times the size of the jar, they can only jump to the top. Okay. They can't jump beyond that. And you get enough generations, eventually you can open up the jar lid and they never jump out. You know why? Because they learned that they couldn't jump out.
Well, I guess that's where the critical thinking comes in. I mean, but it's weird that humans, you can put limitations on what a human can learn. Today, it's a lot harder because of all the ways of accessing information. But even back when we grew up in like the 80s and stuff like that, you know, I mean, you could really restrict what somebody knew. And that's kind of, when you think about it, that's a really cruel thing to do, is to limit what somebody can learn.
Here's a good point by Asia. This is a great question. We need to understand why we're all so angry. I really believe it has to do with the American dream falling out of our grasp and the continued expectation of it.
That's absolutely
brilliant.
yeah. The American dream. That's why I called my book Our Patriotic Nightmare, because that's what I feel like it is right now. I mean, we're all struggling. We're all angry because life is hard for a majority of Americans right now. You know what I mean? And people are trying to hold on to anything they can to make their lives better. But there's got to be some way to make the overall better. I don't know how to say it.
Well,
the collective. There's got to be a way to improve the collective lives of everybody in America somehow.
I think it's by people like us, you know, Bryce, Asia, and a lot of other people that I'm in all these different groups with. Shadow Fox coming out and continually, you know, impressing upon people love and, you know, compassion. Like Bryce says right here, empathy and compassion needs to be backed by good faith planning and
consistent execution.
Yeah,
that actually reminds me of my favorite quote, my go-to one by oh man, you gotta be kidding! Now I'm gonna forget the name. Frederick Douglass. I will unite with anybody to do right and with no way to do wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, good for consistent execution. I mean, we have to, but that's the problem is people these days have, just from personal experience, it's hard to know sometimes if people's intentions are pure. I've found in my experience throughout my life, and I've had a lot of crazy experiences in my life, that people a lot of times try to take advantage of you.
Yes.
Especially if you are a good person. People see a good person, they think you can get something out of them. I used to do it myself when I was a bad person, you know what I mean? Yep. And I see it now all the time. So it's hard to tell if somebody's inherently good or if they're just being good to get something from you. And like dignity is kind of, thank you. Absolutely right. I completely agree. And I think dignity and respect. God, I wish there was dignity and respect in this country right now. I really do. We're lacking a lot of it. And I think it shows to the whole world that we are just a big old mess right now.
Well,
we can't agree on anything.
I know. And, you know, I think part of the thing that you just brought up, people are afraid that they're going to get taken advantage of, you know, for their acts of kindness and their compassion and stuff like that. And I was brought up to show that love and compassion, help your neighbor. You know, my dad would give me a kick in the ass when our neighbor Helen and all that would be getting groceries out of her car. She was an older lady, and it's like, get over there and help her, you know? What are you doing standing there? And it's just like, oh, and I would go over and I'd grab a bag of groceries to carry it in for her, you know? And it wasn't a, what are you doing getting in my car back then? It was like, oh, thank you, sweetie. You know,
right.
The mentality was different. Okay.
And
the mentality was different. That mentality has changed now to where it's, what are you doing? Are you stealing from me? Are you blah, blah, blah? Because that's what we see on TV. That's how people are portrayed. So all of this stuff, we have to get back to a trusting of people. Are people going to take advantage of us? Yes. And I have been taken advantage of so many times.
And I've been in both positions. I've been the person that takes advantage of somebody, and I've also been taken advantage of. You know what I mean? But I think I wish people would just go out and do good things, like for a couple of days. Just do random good things, not big things. I'm talking like little things. Hold doors for people, say thank you. Tell somebody have a good day, stuff like that. Like when you make other people feel good, it makes you feel good down to your soul. Like it makes you feel like what you and me are doing right now, to me, is more satisfying than, having any like physical possessions or things like that. Like I feel better about myself by doing good things for other people, or trying to anyway.
Yeah. See, I go out and I walk my dog every day. Every day I walk my dog. And there's people that drive by, walk by, and people sitting out on their porches and all that, enjoying the beautiful weather. And when I walk by, I wave and smile at everyone.
So do I. I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
Period. Okay. That in itself will make somebody's day. I have conversations with people. I'll walk by and all that, and it's like, how you
All the
doing
time.
today, sir? And they'll be like, oh, I'm doing okay. Hi, how you doing? It's like they're shocked that I even said something.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know what religion they are. I don't know what their ethnicity, what their complete background is.
And
I don't know what they do for a living. I don't know if they're on the left or the right. I can
Right. And it
presume
doesn't
by
matter
a lot-
either.
I can presume a lot of things by what I see. I mean, if they're hanging a certain flag outside, I can pretty much get an idea what their belief system
Right.
is.
Exactly.
But I still say hi.
Right. My thing is making people laugh. Like I'm a goofball. I'm a stoner. So my thing is and I deliver DoorDash. So I live in a small city. So I go to the same restaurants to see the same employees. They're always miserable because they're always understaffed and underpaid, and they're dealing with asshole customers all day. So my thing is go and make people laugh. Like if I can make somebody smile, they'll forget about their problems even for a few seconds. If they can forget about their problems for a few seconds, maybe that'll make the day a little bit better. It's stuff like that. Like it's not hard. I'm not talking about you have to go out and start hugging people and stuff, but man, if you have it in you to make people laugh, then make people laugh. You know what I mean? But there's people out there that are determined to make people miserable, where it makes them feel better to make others feel worse.
And they want to make other people miserable because they're miserable.
Right.
And-
Their life sucks. So they want to make somebody else's life seem worse to make them feel better about it.
I think if we continue to go out and we smile and give people joy, that they might find it within themselves to eventually smile and give somebody else some joy. Maybe the whole domino effect, the butterfly effect, whatever you want to call it, just maybe down the road, maybe everybody will be smiling and laughing and joyous. I would love to see
I
that.
like to picture that, and I really do like to see the good in people. I think people want to be inherently good because, my life was going really good, and I took a complete wrong turn into drugs and stuff. It was back when like pills became literally available everywhere, and I got wrapped up in the whole opioid crisis. And I remember the first time, the first time I did something, I'm not going to go into what it is, but the first time I did it, I felt terrible. And is there something called the laws of diminishing effect? Or is that something I just made up in my head? I'm pretty sure.
It sounds familiar.
Okay, you do something bad the first time, you feel absolutely terrible. You do that thing again, you don't feel as bad.
Right.
If you continue that behavior, eventually you don't feel any guilt or shame at all.
Right.
However, when I got my life back on track, it took me a long time. I mean, it's been 7-8 years since I've been down that road. But when I got my life together, all those bad things, I started to remember that. And I had to deal with all that guilt and shame. And that shit's hard. Dealing with guilt and shame about things that you've done is maybe one of the most difficult things you'll ever have to face in your life. And I think people avoid that because they don't want to feel shitty about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to grow as a person, you have to accept certain things about yourself.
Yep. Ossia said, we used to be able to be neighborly. I'm afraid our kids won't understand the concept of borrowing a cup of sugar. And
That's gone.
yep.
And
And
they're
then
like, what's in this sugar?
yeah.
What'd you put in my sugar?
The information age has made us more reclusive and more suspicious. Absolutely, Bryce. Absolutely.
See, I always wonder this. Have these problems always existed and we're just more aware of it now? Like, has the world been as crazy as it is, but we just more relevant, or we just sort of have more access to information and aware of it?
Well, no, it's
But it also seems like the chaos is evolving a little bit too. So,
well, when we had it, we would have it in different forms, and yet it was still out there, you know. Here's another example. I'm going to play one more video here. And this is going back. This is Bill Maher early in his
Cultures. That's what makes the world go. Different cultures. I have two right in my own family. I am half Jewish. My mother is Jewish, and my father is Catholic. That's a thing to grow up with, huh? And no, I was raised Catholic formally. Do we have Catholics here? I see candles. And I was raised formally Catholic, but the Jewish mind comes out in strange ways. Like we used to go to confession, and I would bring a lawyer in with me.
that's funny.
I know, but that's like the early years with Bill Maher, and even making jokes back then about how things are just, you know, how people are and how they think and how they see things. And a lot of that hasn't changed today because obviously we teach our children these things and our children grow up with these things. And when you look at the world today, what the children are being taught and how they're being, you know, all this hatred and banning books and banning this study and banning this and banning that, you know, they're growing up in an era of fear mongering of what's going to get banned next, what's going to get banned next, you know.
That's pretty bad right now.
Yeah. So what's that going to do? And then you combo it up with what Bryce just said. The information age has made us more reclusive and more suspicious. Well, what do you think this stuff's going to do on top of that?
It's just going to get worse. I mean, I don't know. There's always going to be crazy people out there. There's always going to be people that want to do harm. I think some people in their nature, it's just in their nature to be evil. I believe in good and evil. I mean, there's people out there that I think just don't have any intentions on ever doing anything, being good people. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are forced into situations like I was a lot of times put in situations where I was forced to do bad things, even though I still consider I consider myself a very good person, but because of society and certain things I had to do in order to support my family or to accomplish a goal or whatever, you know what I mean? Society kind of puts you in these awkward positions where you may have to make a moral, do something you normally wouldn't do something that might make you feel guilty.
Yeah. And, you know, the biggest time that I experienced that, I think, was when I was a bounty hunter in Las Vegas. And I was being told that I need to go kick in doors and I need to go through people's houses and I need to scare them into getting the people to give up, who it is that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with a whole different approach. I went up, I knocked on the door, and I talked to people. I treated them with respect, treated them like a human being. And the most part, I got people to turn themselves in without an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, without violence, without needing to draw a gun, without needing to without bringing them in kicking and screaming. And half of the people, I would get them a new court date and get them set up to where they didn't have to go to jail, that they could actually get their court date and get their life back on track. Mm-hmm. And I think that because I was continually told, no, you have to be more aggressive. You have to be more this, and this. And it's just like, that's not who I am.
Yeah, I don't have it in me to be like that.
That's not how I operate. And I actually was pretty successful as a bounty hunter, bringing people in and getting the job done without issue. Granted, there was a couple of times where things got hazy, but that's because people were either whacked out on drugs or there was other circumstances. But I think that if people learn how to communicate with people and put religion aside, because I mean this is one of the issues, is that people are forcing things upon people, whether it's religion, whether it's your political beliefs, whether it's how you live, who you can have sex with, who you can marry. Quit forcing things upon people and start having conversations with people. Try to get an understanding why somebody believes the way they do. I mean,
That's
I will
my favorite thing to do. I love talking and getting to know people. You know what I mean? Everybody's story is interesting.
Yes.
Everybody has an interesting story. Everybody has a unique experience. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to share stuff about themselves, but nobody ever asks them anything. And like you said, I think conversation is key. I mean, understanding is key, but conversation is a big part of it. Like, we don't communicate, and we don't even have to communicate face to face anymore. Hell, we can send messages to each other and do positive things, but people abuse that too. You know what I mean? Well,
here's a good question from Bryce. Are the general risks, threats significantly different today than when I was a kid in the 80s? Not the technology that bad people use, but the human nature element. That's.
I think before, like I said, we get influenced a lot. And I think we've been seeing a lot of anger and a lot of hate. And I think it affects people even if they don't know it. I think it really does. And I think maybe we were an angry age. Like my group, I'm 45. So in the 90s, if you guys want to watch a story about angry people, watch that documentary. It's about Woodstock 99. They burned that whole place down. I mean, we were an angry group back then, but I think today it's more in your face.
Well, I think we have social media to highlight it more because when I was a kid in the 70s, Bryce, in the 70s, I was angry as a kid, because there was things that I was constricted and didn't get to do or was told I couldn't do. And as I've grown up, I think what I have seen is that people are less willing to talk about things. Now, granted, let me bring this more to there were certain things that you didn't talk about, and you knew that you didn't talk about those things. And then other things you could talk about. So when I was growing up, it was more of no, we don't talk about that.
Right.
Okay. Where today, instead of saying, no, we don't talk about that. Instead, it's more of I don't like what you're thinking. We're more in each other's space about it. So I don't think that it's different today, Bryce. I think the aspect of how we approach it is different. I think the aspect of how we interpret and generate our thought process on certain things is different. As far as the risks and the threats, I think they're the same. I don't think they've changed all that much. I think it's more, certain things are more out into the open because of technology, and we see it more. It's more in our face, and we react differently to it because of how often we see it. But as far as there being a different, I really don't think police brutality. It's been going on for the last 100 and some years. Okay.
Yeah,
now we see it more. Is it something that is now it's worse than what it was? I don't think it's worse than what it was. I think it always has been this bad. It just wasn't in your face. So
back then it was their word against. I mean, now with video, like you said, video technology has really put everything in our face. We'll be like,
right.
not.
And
Even things we don't want to know.
And I also think, Bryce, more people are willing to voice their opinions on things today versus back then. I think where the aspect that's changed is if I'm on Twitter, I can hide behind a name and an icon and never reveal who I am. Whether it's Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, you can put any icon up there, any name you want, and you can hide behind it. And in hiding behind it, you can say whatever you want. So as far as it being more dangerous, I think in the last 5 years, I think it's starting to become more dangerous because everybody is getting in everybody's face with this technology. And that's what's making it more dangerous. The willingness to confront.
Our technology is also showing the massive level of ignorance that still exists in the country. People are willingly showing their ignorance, like a badge of honor. It's like
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, Bryce, Asia, love you for joining this topic.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for adding content. Greatly appreciate it. We're past the hour mark. Anything to add there, Jeremy?
No, I'm good, man. I think it was just like I said, people just need to calm the hell down and open their minds a little bit to some new experiences. You might learn something. Might learn something about yourself.
Yep.
That you like.
I'm gonna throw one last comment up there because I think it really kind of nails it. The thing is, there is more good in the world than bad. The bad hits the news and is exploited.
Right on the money.
That I believe. That I believe. I believe there is far more good in the world than there is bad. And
I agree. Unfortunately, we see more bad than good.
Yes. Yes.
I agree. It's like it's actually kind of ironic. You know what I mean? We do good things, but we see the bad.
Yep, definitely.
And they throw that in our faces. And the people that control this information do it on purpose. Just to fucking divide us and piss us off. They do it on purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I'm going to throw up real quick. Where is it? There we go. Paris of Prairie, Stoic Bryce. Check them out on Twitter. On February 5th, Sunday, February 5th, I believe it is. Let me make sure of the date here. Yes, Sunday, February 5th. I'm going to be joined by Elizabeth in our new show, Becoming Stoic. So everyone, make sure you check out Elizabeth and I as we cover Rene Descartes, Meditations on the First Philosophy on Becoming Stoic. Let's see.
Yep.
Yes.
A little lacking in the all
But yep. So check them out on Twitter and check us out next Saturday. Do we already have a topic for next Saturday?
No, we'll figure one out though.
Okay.
So maybe something a little lighter.
I think
if you guys get a chance, check me out on TikTok. I'm suspended for a week, but you can still see the videos that are already posted.
Yep.
Whatever you do, if you go on TikTok, do not call Kanye West Adolf Hitler.
All
I don't
right.
like that.
Tuesday takes. Luke will be back hopefully this Tuesday, and we're going to be discussing tropes. I'm going to be talking with T-Paw for the Vellum on Monday, and then on February 12th, I'm having an exclusive interview with the one, the only. I love you, Asia. Thank you, Joe Walsh. Congressman Joe Walsh will be on In the Moment, February 12th. So this time right now, as far as we know, is 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to have Joe Walsh on here, Congressman Joe Walsh. So I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be a good one.
We're starting to get some really, really good shows on here, and we're expanding. Who knows? One of these days and all that, we might be as big as TYT or Jimmy Dore or Dave Packman. Can only hope.
I mean, it'd be nice to do this for a living, trying to do the right thing. I feel like what we're doing is necessary, and it's not even the right thing. It just is something that needs to be done, and
Yes.
people out there have to just stand up and do it.
Oh, one other quick thing. I have somebody that I follow on YouTube, the Electric Viking.
Thanks for following.
Yep, just check out the Electric Viking. His wife has stage 4 cancer. He's got a GoFundMe set up. Go to the Electric Viking on YouTube. Please follow and please help him out. He's sending his wife to another country for treatment.
Wow.
As those that know me, my wife passed away a year ago on the 22nd of January from breast cancer. Cancer is a serious thing. Fuck cancer, my friends. Fuck cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Check out the Electric Viking. Plus, it's a segment that you might enjoy and all that. He talks about, the future of electric. Even if you don't, want to go that route, still please check out his channel and find his GoFundMe and help give the guy a hand, help him out, man. He's really needing some help and all that. He's down in Australia. Real good guy, real genuine. Watch his show. You're going to love him. Again, help those when you can. Help those when you can. Remember, be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. Have a good night.